It is 12:59. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. It is 6 straight losses for the Tennessee Titans, but showing some life on offense in the 27-13 loss to the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. The Titans racking up 317 total yards of offense to Dallas's 361. Joshua Dobbs in his first career start in the NFL, 20 of 39 for 232 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Titans now on a long week of rest before the regular season finale in Jacksonville against the Jags to determine the AFC South champion. Mayo Bowl at halftime, Maryland leading NC State 10-9. Later tonight, of course, Tennessee and Clemson head-to-head in the Orange Bowl. It is a 7 p.m. kickoff. Vol Network coverage will pick up on the zone right at 5 p.m. Nashville Predators in action this afternoon on the West Coast at the Anaheim Ducks. That is a 4 p.m. puck drop, and the college football playoff Saturday night, New Year's Eve matchups between TCU and Michigan at 3 and Ohio State versus Georgia at 7. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone. It's Blaine and Mickey on a Friday, the final Friday of the 2022 calendar year. I am not Mickey Ryan. I'm Lucas Panzica, but Blaine Bishop is here. And Blaine, the Titans lost last night. They're 6 in a row, 27-13, the final against the Dallas Cowboys, 7-9 on the season. It ensures the first losing season in the Mike Vrabel era, but it doesn't really feel like they lost. I think if you're driving around today and you have no idea what happened last night, you don't know what the score was, and you're just listening to the callers, the attitude, how we're talking about this game, you're probably thinking, did the Titans snap their losing streak last night?
No, I don't feel that way. But, that's because I'm a realist. I mean, I was there. I was at the game and everything.
You don't do moral victories.
Yeah, that was, yeah. But I think what we've got to see was, a comparison to Malik Willis. But I predicted, I think, that's why I was pointing at my man there, that the score would be 28-14 right at the end of the show. I came with my show, so I was 2 points off there, one on each side of that. Yeah, I mean, I know this is Tennessee country. Dobbs looked like he's a serviceable backup in this league, at least in this system. Actually, I was, as I said that, yesterday, that I was a fan of his. I want him to do well. Sharp kid, and he showed, that he should deservedly get another shot to see if he can take this team further versus the Jags. And that was kind of interesting that Vrabel said that we may have to determine who's going to be the starting quarterback. And I don't know why he thinks he needs to parlay that, who's going to not be the starting quarterback to the other team. Like, you run the same offense, they have the same skill set. There's no difference between them preparing for Dobbs or Malik Willis. And I would like to know, as a player, that you are so now telling the team that Dobbs is going to be starting, and let's just get that out the way. There is no parlaying, we don't want to tell them what we're going to be doing. They know what you're going to be doing. They just saw it, and they've seen it all season. So I think that's a little semantics. Because maybe he's trying to protect Malik Willis in that, Vrabel feels like, we're still not giving up on him. But right now, Dobbs is the better option. And I thought he gave the team some juice. As I said, going into the game, I thought he would, just because of where he played and him going out to prove that he can be a backup in this league. He never really had an opportunity. His first Tennessee Vol to start at quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, and his first actual start in the National Football League, which was all. And he looked like he was a calm, cool customer, very decisive in his decisions, whether they were right or wrong. He still had some plays I didn't like, but he definitely had a lot of plays I did like. He didn't get rattled. They got him outside the pocket. That's why I wanted to see Malik Willis. To me, they ran boots and things, and he ran him where I thought they should have been doing that with Malik Willis. Maybe they thought he couldn't handle the offense as much. And, even Dobbs had to admit they had ran some routes that he knew of, but he hadn't ran them in practice. So with all that being said, I thought he seemed to be very serviceable. I like what I saw, and then I think he can build on that. I think the receivers kind of let him down at some points in time with all the drops between Burks and Woods and Hooper. I mean, whoever you want to pick, but he also was inaccurate on some. He should have definitely threw away, maybe two. He got lucky on a couple of them as far as drop picks. That's why they play DB. But all in all, I thought the defense was flying around, making plays. Thought the refereeing was a little sketchy at times. And when I say that, I'm talking about calls that you say, oh, man, you're going to call it that way, but then call it on the other side. So let's just be consistent. If you're going to be bad at your calls, just be bad on both sides, and you're never going to get that. It's human error, just the way it's going to be. But other than that, I thought the team actually played solid. They just, came up against a better team, and eventually talent, outwon them, And, hey, Dak Prescott made some mistakes, and they were hanging in there, and that's all you wanted to do if you weren't the Titans, because then all the pressure is on the Cowboys and not necessarily the Titans, and they had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I think they gained, as you mentioned, Lucas, when you feel like you won, you feel like now you're at least starting quarterback at this point in time to go into Jacksonville, very decisive, and how we're going to build our game plan more so than what they saw in this game, because, the element of surprise was there a little bit with the Cowboys of him with all the boots. They hadn't run at all that all season. So there's no surprise, and now they got to, run their offense. So we shall see, but he's got to be the starting quarterback. He did well. And, by the way, it was nice weather. Man, I don't know how many of the Cowboy fans were there, but they were loud. I want to say the visiting side had a lot of them over there, but every time there was a questionable call or good play by them, they were loud and ruckus. And I got to give a shout out to the Titans fans. They were trying to outduel them, and I think they did. Just unfortunately, they lost.
Again, it is 6 straight losses. I mean, it's
in a row at the end of the day.
The worst losing streak in several years.
Why do you think it makes it feel like you won? I mean, what was your feeling? I get it. A lot of people feel that way. Why did you feel that way before we move forward?
Well, and I do feel that way because in each of these last 6 losses, I think there's no question that the feel in the locker room, hearing from Mike Vrabel and players and from fans, from callers on the station all day long, has been more positive today than after any game in this 6-game losing streak. You compare it to last week against Houston. I mean, this team was down bad. Losing, giving the Texans their second win of the season, a team that's going to have the number 1 overall pick next year, 5 losses in a row, all that stuff. But this is different because of the circumstances going into the game, who you were missing on defense. Just that stadium, the energy in that stadium was better than it had been in several weeks. And maybe part of that is Thursday Night Football, and it's prime time. It's the only night game in Nissan Stadium in the regular season in 2022. Cowboys fans are adding to the atmosphere. Kevin Byard leading the defense, basically the only starter on the field with 2 interceptions, keeping them in the game in the first half. And then what you saw from Joshua Dobbs, just showing signs of life. Something that you haven't seen from this team, especially on offense, in quite a few weeks.
Well, and I feel like all the guys who were backups or first-time starters or playing all contributed and played really well, whether you're talking about Haskins and whoever else on offense. Some of the offensive linemen I hadn't even heard of. And the only Lone Ranger was out there. Most of the game was Brewer as the starter. So, yeah, I thought all the guys, even on the defense, that were replacing other guys, did a really fantastic job. They played as best they could, and they proved their point that they are deserving to be in this league in some form or fashion, even going into next year. I think it was positive. I think now we know where we can go with Dobbs as a backup. And that's not to say he may be on the team next year or not. And for all those people, please do not call in talking about he played better than Tannehill. I'll hang up myself. I mean, just stop all that. I'm a fan. I think he played solid. I think he's proven that he is a backup in this league and progressing to make sure that he solidifies that, whether it's on the Titans next year or somewhere else. So that, I think, because you got to remember, I just said it was his first start. He's periodically played throughout his 5-6 years he's been in the league, but mostly all in preseason. He seemed like he was a seasoned vet, and that's what happens when you see a guy that's been in the league 6 years, even though he hadn't played a lot. He looked comfortable, calm, and in command out there. Hey, quick release and didn't get rattled. So He's pro's pro. That's what your backup is supposed to actually look like, with mobility, and he fits all the skill sets and everything else. So yeah, I've heard all kind of craziness today. So I was just like, better than Tannehill now. Y'all better get a kid. And, oh, he's a better athlete. Wait. Dobbs, as much as he was a great runner and has some records there at Tennessee, he did not play wide receiver like Tannehill did. And actually, Tannehill started at A&M at wide receiver. So let's pump the brakes on that. He's not that. Tannehill has an ankle injury, and he wasn't as mobile as normally during this season. But Dobbs showed well for him. But to think that he is going to be battling for the starting job, and it may not be with Tannehill, it could be with somebody else. I think if you think you're going into the season next year that Dobbs is your guy, then they definitely for sure are rebuilding.
Broderick on the Facebook chat. You can hang out with us on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. Broderick, hope I'm saying that right, says, "Thank you, Blaine. The only person talking like he's not on drugs."
well, there's things called fan and fandom. And I'm a fan of Dobbs, but I'm not fanatical, that's for sure. And he did a solid job. And actually, I thought he was going to bring everything I thought with that juice and energy, and playing the Cowboys, of course, their fan base, their following, and everything else. He did not disappoint. Just a couple throws. I thought, he can't throw the interception at the end. Diggs dropped another one. But what can you ask of a guy when your expectations are he's only been here 7-8 days or whatever, and he goes out there and performs like that? You go, well, dang. Well, let's say if he was here for an off season and a regular season and preseason, where could he be? So yeah, I think he pretty much solidified, and I there's no doubt to me that he's going to be the starter going against the Jaguars.
In Jacksonville.
Yeah. If you're really trying to win the game, I know Vrabel tried to mention that they may both play, and you're not sure. Yeah, okay. If he both plays, it means he coming in just Malik comes in to play wide receiver or something. Do read option. There's no Dobbs is the guy. Yeah.
So now begins the preparation on a long week for what amounts to the AFC South Championship game in Jacksonville between Titans and Jags. That game might be played on Saturday. That game might be played on Sunday night. We'll find out probably Monday around then at the latest exactly what time Titans-Jags will be in that regular season finale.
You may notice, what determines where just the NFL and their scheduling, or is there rhyme or reason to the logic of when they put teams and when they play? If I was guessing, I was going to say Saturday, but I have no logic behind that.
Yeah, I think anytime a game is between is a win and in scenario between essentially it's a playoff game, right? I mean, Titans-Jags is a playoff game. Whenever that situation happens, the NFL is going to try and flex that into a window that's going to get more eyeballs, because you'd rather watch a playoff game essentially between Titans and Jags than a meaningless game where the Eagles rest starters. Because if the Eagles win this weekend, they're the NFC's 1 seed. And so I think it'll depend on what happens this coming weekend. Titans might play on Saturday. They might play on Sunday. Either way, they'll have a long week of rest, and we want to talk about it with you. Is Joshua Dobbs, for you, the surefire starter in Jacksonville? A lot going on this weekend. College football playoff tomorrow. The Orange Bowl later tonight between Tennessee and Clemson. They're eating mayonnaise on ESPN and the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Tons to get into. 615-737-1045. It's Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone.
Yo. Serving the Southeast since 1966, Coolray Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing and Electrical takes pride in being your one-stop shop for total home comfort. The team at Coolray also knows that the holiday season can be chaotic enough as is, with shopping, food preparation, hosting, and everything in between. That's why they're waiving the service fee if your next heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical visit requires a repair. That's peace of mind plus some extra money in your pocket. And Coolray won't just send anyone to your home. All of their technicians, plumbers, and electricians are trained and trust certified, meaning you won't only have your problem fixed, you'll also experience great service along the way. So are you ready to finally fix that nagging issue you've been putting off, or the one that may have just popped up out of nowhere? Simply head to newcoolray.com to schedule your new and next visit online and on your own time and browse your variety of open career opportunities. But first, you must give them a call at 629-600-2665. That's 629-600-2665. That's coolraid.com.
In his first career start, Joshua Dobbs went 20 of 39, 232 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He was composed. He was decisive in moments, made some mistakes as the Titans fell 27-13 to the Dallas Cowboys. Lucas Panzica, Blaine Bishop with you on 104.5 The Zone. Blaine, I did some digging yesterday before the game because there's been so little sample size on Dobbs in his career. He's continued to find jobs, but going into yesterday, 17 career pass attempts in the regular season.
Yeah. He looked, for all the years he's been in the league, not a lot of experience.
Yeah, other than preseason games, it was hard to really find anything about what he is right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why he shows everybody, at least in practice and preseason, that he's worthy of being in this league. Now, where he fits in, is he either number 2 or is he kind of a guy you want a security blanket on a practice squad roster, and he can play as a number 2. So that's always kind of interesting to see where he was. And I think a lot of people didn't know what to expect out of him. I felt like this was a great opportunity for him to make a case that he is solidified that he is a 2 in this league in certain offenses.
Dobbs went into the NFL draft in 2017, drafted in the 4th round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I went back and I looked up some draft evaluation. I think Dane Brugler does an awesome job every year. He's now with the Athletic. He puts together the Beast, just the massive, basically draft manual
really
that
good.
breaks down every single player. In 2017, Dane Brugler was with CBS Sports. He and Rob Rang evaluated Joshua Dobbs at the 2017 Senior Bowl. So this is from February 2017. So let me throw a couple of quotes at you here from those guys and tell me how you kind of process that compared with what you saw last night in Nissan Stadium. So here's what they said, some of the positive elements of Dobbs' game. This is from 2017 when he was preparing for the NFL draft where he was a 4th-round pick. Shows impressive understanding of the offense, a calming presence in the huddle, like a rifle shot with a tight spin that makes it easy for pass catchers to track.
Well, I think he hit on all those. Yeah, no doubt about it. I think, he should, especially been here only 8 days. Command of the offense, command of his throwing ability, and tight spiral almost every time he threw the ball. Quick release, very decisive. Even in last minute, he understood where his safety valves were, even if he underthrew them just to get the ball of his hands. And, last minute you see somebody in there, they're going to blitz. I wasn't aware of the blitz, and all of a sudden I got to get rid of it, throw it in the flat, miss Hooper. I can think of plays like that. So one thing that I see that I think people get confused on, and he has it, is just because you're super smart as a quarterback, you not only have to be smart, but you have to be a real quick, decisive, quick thinker. And he's got that. And that's what you see in him. And that's kind of what's the difference between him and Malik Willis. He's a quick thinker. He understands where everybody's supposed to be in the offense and releases the ball, and sometimes good, sometimes bad. But I think those traits carry you at least to being a better performer in game. I think that's what's different. And that you get that over time and experience. I would have loved to see, Dobbs his rookie year and go back and watch him in preseason when he was with the Steelers to see if he looked somewhat like Malik Willis. Now, he came from a better offense that was more getting pro ready than Malik, of course. But, I see all those traits that he mentioned there, and it's continued in the NFL, which is awesome.
Do you feel like they simplified the game plan for Dobbs, given that he was only here for 9 days?
No, I do not. I felt like they ran their offense. When Dobbs, after the game, says that he ran some plays that he hadn't ran in practice, no, they didn't do anything. They gave him the whole playbook. He knew the plays. He understood them. He may not have gotten to run all of them in practice, so he ran them. I think they opened the playbook. That's why I was so interested to see what Malik would do in opening up the offense, being that this was a game you didn't have to win.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I think they didn't believe that he was quite ready to even do that. Not to say he can't get there, but he's not where Dobbs is at today. No. So I think they opened up the playbook. I mean, he's a sharp kid, and I think he picks up things pretty quick, and he has a calming way about him that I really like, and a competitive nature. One thing you got to see is sitting up in the Titans radio suite is that you could see when he got frustrated, whether it was a bad ball or a behind throw or a drop, however you wanted to perceive it. He was very competitive and would always make a motion like crap, and to himself, whether it was his fault, someone else's fault. Even when he went to the sideline when he made a mistake, he's very competitive. Even when he made a mistake, and it was pretty glaring. So, but didn't beat himself up where he was down on himself. So that's another level of experience to me that you can't have, and that he's gained being in the league, even though he hadn't been a starter at any point in time.
Going to get to your phone calls here in just a minute, 615-737-1045. But first, Blaine, the red flags that were put out there by Dane Brugler and Rob Rang from 2017 evaluating Joshua Dobbs. So here's what they had to say when Dobbs was coming out. Inconsistent decision-making and erratic ball placement. A slight hitch in his delivery, doesn't consistently step into his throws, is relatively thin, and often leaves the pocket earlier than necessary, must improve ball security.
Okay, now, I think when he came out, I would probably agree with all those assessments.
Yeah, this is 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's 5 years, 2017 when he came out, right? Okay, I would agree with all those things when he came out, because I remember I watched him. Naturally, we were watching all UT games, and very fascinating with him as an NFL prospect. And I thought he went right where he should have gone, somewhere in the 4th, 5th round. And I agree with all those things. I think he has fixed all of those things. I think he's very decisive. Now, only thing he can't fix is he's still kind of thin frame, but he's real tough and agile. And I think he understands how he's supposed to land when someone hits him and he lands on his back and all those things. So, he can't change that. But his ball placement, I think he's improved as a passer compared to when he was at Tennessee. I remember at Tennessee, he was very inconsistent. Sometimes you see him hit a guy right in stride, and you go, oh, man, that was a great throw. And then he come back and somewhat similar play, he would miss the guy. So I think he's fixed all those things through his training, and he's very decisive now in making decisions. I think him being a quick-witted, smart guy and a quick thinker, I think that's helped him through this process. What was the first thing he said?
Inconsistent decision-making and erratic ball placement.
And he had all of those in college. I think I didn't really – there was some times where the ball was high, but he was under duress. So it was really kind of hard to say that those are erratic throws.
And you could nitpick, right?
Yeah,
I think on both drops you could have said, it could have been a better throw, but
the receiver hit both his hands, and whether it was behind him, he's supposed to make the catch.
Yeah,
right. And I think those kind of throws happen, especially in games where you're under duress like he was pretty much the whole game. So being nitpicky, I'm right there with you. So I really think he's kind of trained himself to improve throughout his time in these 5-6 years that he's been in the league. He's improved and addressed every one of these things that they've said that he is. And that doesn't mean he's going to be a starter in this league. But I think he's showing that I am going to be a number 2 in this league. And then all you want as a quarterback is an opportunity to be a 2, and you're one play away from being the dude.
Yeah.
And so, I think he's addressed all those things. I like what I saw. I think the potential is great. You got to think now, that's why it's so hard on offense, especially at the quarterback position, is to get timing and rhythm with the other players. Now, you can't get that in practice. Everything is ratcheted up to a whole nother level with the adrenaline rush and everything in the game, let alone the quarterback too. So I thought, man, this is this looks good. I think the sky's the limit for him to be not only with the Titans, but he is a number 2 if you kind of continue just to see the upside of where this could go. I think people are still kind of questioning a little bit, NFL people. He looks like he's the part. Let me see him do it again another game. And once he does it again, whether they win, lose, or draw versus Jaguars, especially what's at stake, now there's a lot of pressure. Let's see how he handles that. I would bet that he's going to go and look just somewhat similar how he looked because he's too calm. His demeanor's great. He is exactly what I like my demeanor at the pro level as a quarterback to be in the calming force. I don't want the rah-rah, the yell guy. When you see Tom Brady and those guys getting all emotional on the sideline, those are proven veteran guys who've proven game. I like my quarterback to be a calm, cool customer, and that's what I want him to be. There's no yelling unless you talking to the receiver or something about him running the wrong route, or not being precise in his route running. I liked everything about him. And just think, and I'm still sitting here saying that he's a 2. That ain't even saying that's not saying he's a 1. But potentially he could be if he continues to progress and get on the right team that fits his skill set. And I think this is the right team. I liked him when he came out, and I thought he was a good fit for the Titans then, and I still think it today. Yeah.
615-737-1045. What do you think about Joshua Dobbs' performance yesterday and what you expect to see from him in Jacksonville, assuming he is the starter? Trent is in Murfreesboro with us on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Trent?
Hey, guys. I was just calling, kind of feeding off of what Blaine was saying with, how Dobbs has been in the league for a little while, and he just seems a little more polished over Malik. Would you think going into next season, obviously Tannehill's the better choice of all 3.
Right.
But would you think you bring Dobbs back and bring them through camp, and then maybe try to push Malik through, to the practice squad and see how that goes, and maybe try to develop him there. I don't know. Somebody may snag him, just off of potential, maybe off of our practice squad. But that was just something me and my buddies was talking about after the game last night. I appreciate y'all taking my call. Y'all have a happy New Year. I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, happy New Year, Trent. Thanks for the call.
Well, I think and I agree with the caller, actually, what he's saying. I think going into the next season, if it was, me as the GM, I would bring Dobbs back as my 2 and Malik Willis probably be in a practice squad and see if he can develop, because he should be addressing his skill sets just like Dobbs and saying, that's where I want to get to. If I can get to there, then immediately, the sooner he does, then the more he's in competition with Dobbs. Right now, Dobbs is head over heels better than him, and he only can get it with experience and repetition and over again. We must not forget, Hugh Freeze's quarterbacks, none of them have success in the National Football League. So he is the first one. Now you're trying to change his game into the NFL game, and I think he's on the right course. There's a huge jump, and even if you came from a pro system, there's a jump. But he had even more things going against him in that offense, whether, he was at Ole Miss or Liberty. It's just that offense is not producing pro quarterbacks. They're going to have numbers, and they're going to look good and everything else. But for the pro game, you're not going through progression reads. You're under center sometimes. You're making checks and changes. You're always looking to the sideline calling plays. If not, you're throwing a shot. If not, you're running. I mean, that's just kind of what it was. So it's a huge curve. So I think he still has some upside to him, but right now he's not there. And I've said that all season. I know a lot of fans want him to be the guy because he was third round. They knew who he was, and he was a quarterback. But we got to see the difference between him and Dobbs has been here 8 days.
Yeah.
So it's a big curve, and I think potentially that's where he should be trying to get to. So at practice, here's what you get to see. That's why I like this opportunity for Dobbs, let alone for Malik Willis. You get to see every day as a GM and as a coach, watching him every day and say, is he getting closer to Dobbs? Is he getting closer? If it's not, then he's staying stagnant. Then this is the highest he can go. So you'll know going into next year. And if someone else wants to pick him up at practice squad, so be it.
And I bet they would.
Yeah. Yeah, some teams may want to pick him up to practice squad, but I think that's where he's at now.
Right.
And if you want to stick with the same 3, you have Tannehill, Dobbs, and then I think I would feel pretty comfortable with our quarterbacking crew and the development of a young player and see where he can go in another year. He's got some great experience. I'm sure he's going to look back and say, okay, I should be this where I should be today compared to where I was then. No player is perfect, and it's the hardest position. I can go back and look at my career or any young player, and that first game to the fourth game, I was so much better and more experienced in knowing where to put my eyes, and that way you can make decisions faster. And the game is so much faster. And that's what's so hard when we're watching it as fans and sitting in the stands, and it doesn't give any justification how fast things are moving out there. And it's totally different. I just think Malik hasn't caught up with the speed of the game yet. He can't go through his progression reads. And then when you have to make a decisive decision, he's got to let it ride and believe that they're going to be at the spot where they're supposed to be. Tough.
2023 is going to be a really pivotal training camp for Malik Willis, right?
Yes.
To see what kind of strides he makes. Because if you start the season next year with Willis on the practice squad, I'd be really surprised if somebody out there isn't curious to see how he could develop in maybe a better situation,
right?
With the pieces around him,
right? With more opportunity, but it also the human nature part of it is, well, if they think he's a 3, why do we think is better? Well, because we have better coaching, or because we have a better system than they're in, or maybe we throw it a little different. Maybe like if he was in, let's say, Arizona's offense, which is kind of somewhat has some college game to it, as well as pro game. Does he fit better in a scheme or system like that than the Titans, which is still based off of the run game? So that will be interesting. But I think you don't start there. Like the practice squad is like after training camp is over, you make your cuts and you put him on the practice squad. There's always an opportunity, especially if you're playing him a lot of preseason. That will dictate how well he does in preseason if somebody else is going to pick him up.
Yeah. 615-737-1045. Michael in Bowling Green joins us on 1045 The Zone.
Hey, what's up, guys? Good
What's
afternoon.
up, Michael? Afternoon.
Hey, I called in, Blaine, the other day to you and Mickey. I don't know if you remember it, a few days ago, and we talked real briefly about the importance of the Titans getting that win last night, and going into Jacksonville with some momentum. Now,
I agree.
I did have a little glimmer of hope last night that we were going to pull something out right there, but we didn't on paper. We didn't get the dub on paper, but mentally, I think they did get a dub mentally. I mean, look at what Dobbs did coming in here after only being here 8 days. I know you guys have talked about some of this already, and the previous caller kind of stole some of my thunder, but that's okay. I think that guy did a phenomenal job with certain things with only being here 8 days. I mean, if you go back and look at his college and the degree this guy received. I mean, he's a very intelligent guy.
No doubt.
That had to play a huge part in him, picking up rather quickly in his years in the NFL. Even though he hadn't been a starter, he's been a number 2 or a practice squad quarterback, whatever. But just look at what he did. I mean, I think he boosted these guys up a little bit last night, and it should play a positive factor going into Jacksonville for sure.
Yeah, well said, well said. I think you said it, and me and Lucas were kind of going back and forth, and that's really what we were trying to say. I was trying to say, well, we still lost, but you were saying there was some positive energy coming out of it, and it was, but I think you feel like you still won the game because you feel like there's a glimmer of hope because now we think we have a quarterback that can at least lead us to a victory over the Jaguars. Whether win, lose, or draw, but you think he's the guy that can do it, and I think that's what the callers, said in his words there. So I would agree with that. That's why I think people don't feel as bad in a loss. You felt like we won. Now we know, at least moving forward, at least for this next week, we have our quarterback that we believe that we can win and put our efforts behind and believe in.
Yeah, so the belief, right?
It's the belief.
Because you have talked a lot about the idea of confidence. Oh, has this guy lost his confidence? And you've always kind of brushed that off because in your experience, players at the highest level of professional football don't lack confidence.
Yeah.
But is there something to be said for what the Titans did last night and how it could contribute to just the belief of the locker room? Okay, we have a chance here. We have a chance with this guy and with Derrick Henry coming back and with all these starters, Jeffrey Simmons and Danico Autry and potentially Christian Fulton coming back on defense. So is there a difference there when you talk about the confidence versus the belief in the locker room as far as which one could maybe waver?
Well, I think when I was talking, I'm trying to remember when I was talking about confidence, I think that was when everybody said, oh, is he going to lose his confidence? And I think we were referencing
Farley. A lot of that was about Farley.
Right. And I would go, well, each player is their own unique, thought process. And that's why players need to, coaches need to get to learn their players. But each position you need to handle differently depending on the position, like the quarterback and your kicker. I think this is some things that some coaches don't think about. You don't mess with the mental psyche of your quarterback and your kicker. You leave them be. You do not yell at them. You have conversations with them. You have dialogue in game. Now, you can do what you want to do at the practice, but in game, because you can tweak them and mess them up like that. Like after this, where's Malik Willis? I think he's a confident kid for a young player, but you also think, okay, now he's seen how it's supposed to be. He knows that he is not there yet. Yeah. So does that mess with him a little bit? And like when I was watching him on the sideline, he kind of looked like nonchalant, his body language. I'm just reading him from the TV. I don't know. To me, I would have been having an earpiece in my ear and wanting to know every play and everything and what he was doing out there. Maybe he was. So I think every position deserves some form of confidence building, but yet pushing at the same time. Farley at the cornerback position, you got to know you're going to get beat. It's how you respond to getting beat, and do you actually have the skill sets now compared to when he got drafted? At this point in time, I don't think he had the speed to play the position with the knee and ankle injury. I mean, back injuries. So I think it was a part of him like he was starting to lose confidence. But you got to continue to push him out there to see what he actually can do so he can go in this offseason and work to see if he can even get back to the level he was at college. I don't even think, Caleb Farley was even back to where he was in college. So that's every position. There is some confidence building, but at the pro level, that is really on you. And I think a lot of coaches kind of look past that and just kind of leave it be. Because there's a mental side to this whole game that no one talks about mentally that you have to prepare for in a game to build. The Blaine Bishop, when I got in the league to the Blaine Bishop in year 3 was two different people. So confidence and learning how to prepare to play in this game and building your body. There's so many different elements of it, and then understanding how people are attacking. You continue to grow and grow and grow, and that's why when you get to year like 5 or 6, where Dobbs is at,
Yeah.
you start thinking that's why Byard's so good. There is nothing that I've never seen out here that's going to be a surprise to me. Like I could say I didn't prepare for, but I've seen it before, but whether from someone else, and I'll know what to do on your own because eventually you start coaching yourself at the end of the day once you have experience. So you got to get to that level. So there's different levels of confidence, and I think every player when they come in there, depending on who they are, need to be reinforced with that confidence, and that's up to the coaches.
More of your phone calls when we come back. 615-737-1045. Your thoughts on Joshua Dobbs' performance yesterday and the Titans' chances in Jacksonville following a long week of rest. It's Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone.
Good stuff, Lucas. How many nasty waiting rooms have you walked into while waiting on your vehicle repair? It's like you don't want to sit down or touch anything because there's grease all over the place. Well, at Eurofix, you'll find luxurious waiting rooms with all the internet connectivity and refreshments you need in a safe environment. And Eurofix fixes everything European with an ASE certified technician. And not all repair shops have ASE certified techs, so you better watch out and make sure you get an ASE certified technician for your European vehicle. And Eurofix offers a nationwide 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on all repairs and a free loaner car with those repairs. And you'll like this, no surprises. No work is done without your approval. And Eurofix also offers a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection, and you can drop in with no appointment necessary. A former youth pastor and starting out with just $50 in tools, owner Aaron Stokes and his team have been repairing European vehicles for over 2 decades now. So if you want the best to work on your European vehicle, all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, Monday through Friday, or you can just visit online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine sent you.
Friday feeling on 104.5 The Zone, the last one of 2022. In a matter of days, you're going to have to start getting used to writing 22 and then scratching it out and writing 23 whenever you write the date on something.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about it. Yeah, you're right. Because that was an adjustment there doing 2022. It always was weird, so it's going to be even weird. Write my jersey number.
There you go. Oh, that'll be easy for the Hitman. Hitman will get it right every time.
I'll just think of MJ. Yeah, MJ.
And
Especially if I'm writing checks, but I don't write too many checks these days anymore.
That always takes me a solid 4 weeks.
Yeah, a month. Yeah.
Yeah, before I'm writing the year correctly without having to edit it.
Yeah.
615-737-1045. That number hasn't changed. Want to hear from you about Joshua Dobbs, his performance yesterday for the Tennessee Titans in a 27-13 loss to the Dallas Cowboys. So the Titans fall to 7-9 in a game that had no postseason implications, but play for all the marbles next week in Jacksonville. Winner take all in the AFC South. Aaron is in Lebanon to talk about Josh Dobbs. What's up, Aaron?
What's up, guys? I just got 2 things. I'll try to make it quick. First things first, as a big Tennessee fan, just like Blaine said, I wanted him here when he was coming out of the draft as a scheme fit. So that was kind of a dream come true last night, just on a personal standpoint. But on a real standpoint, just being realistic, he's always been a gamer, and I think with the right pieces around him, it could be special. With that being said, I think, depending on this next week's game, and with all the salary cap issues and everything that we have, if he goes out and leads the team to the playoffs, I think for sure you could definitely see him in that spot to take control next year.
No, as a starter?
So,
if everything was equal as over Tannehill, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just as far as like a salary cap casualty.
Gotcha.
But with that being said, we brought Tannehill in here at the age of 29. He took the reins. You never know what can happen. So he's wanted a shot. Now he's got one. Let's see what he does with it.
Thanks for the call, Aaron.
Yeah, that could potentially happen if not only does he beat the Jaguars, but they win in the first round of the playoffs. And if he does do that, I think what the caller just said is a possibility that he could be a cap casualty, Tannehill. But that means he has to win 2 games. He hadn't won a game yet. He's won over the fans, and that he is the better quarterback today compared to him and Malik Willis. But is he better than Tannehill will be a whole nother story. And I know everybody's just going to go to the one game against the Bengals and 3 interceptions. But Tannehill's played in more playoff games than that here as a Tennessee Titan. So that will be interesting. I don't know if Dobbs can reach that level, but if he had better pieces, as the caller said, that could potentially happen. I just don't think that can happen, but we never know, especially if the defense comes back and they play a lot better than the defense actually played this last game, which I thought was solid considering who was out there. And now with the better players out there, with Archery and Big Jeff and Fulton and Hooker, they may possibly could do it. I think what's going to really tell the tape is the receivers are going to have to step up to another level. When I say that means they got to be more consistent, but they got to play maybe their best game at some point in time, and they're taking turns with it. Burks now, he got his arm grabbed. Okay, that was pass interference. They didn't call it. He's got to make that catch. Sorry, he got to make it. You got to learn how to influence the call. You got to learn how to be an actor sometimes. That's just veteran knowledge. I think Robert Woods, who's not the more talented player, but I think he would have drew the pass interference because he's just a seasoned vet. And Robert Woods, even though he had some drops, see how he responded? He came back and still continued to go through the process. To be honest, I know he had some drops, but that's the best I've seen him run routes all season. And so I think now, guess why I think now? It just hit me. This gave me chill bumps. I don't know when he tore his ACL, but I think now he's finally feeling comfortable with his knee. And by the way, I think Burks has issues sometimes. He's always jumping when he doesn't need to make a catch. And
I'm about to ask you about
figure out why
that.
he does that. I'm wondering if he doesn't want to take another step. Maybe that toe has bothered him.
Yeah.
You start thinking about it. Or some receivers, and probably most, have a strong side, just like a DB. He has a strong side. He likes 1 foot up and back. That's like playing left or right. Everybody thinks it's just nothing. Playing left tackle, right tackle. It is different. It is. So some receivers, especially if you're right-handed, like coming from the left side. Some receivers, if you're left-handed, like coming from the right side because you want your dominant hand on top of the ball when you're making your catches. If not, then you start doing other things. We already know he's an elite level athlete, so that's why you go first round. And then he backed it up with his, production in college. And so I've seen him do that twice now, but when he was running the play that he caught the touchdown when the Eagles, when he got knocked out, he was coming from the right, which is most right-handed people like going to your left. Because then his dominant hand is on the top. So I wonder if that's probably the issue, and he hasn't figured that out yet in the league. Sometimes it's striking the ball coming from different angles that you see the ball differently. So I'm wondering if some of those things, and I know he knows he's supposed to catch that ball. There's no doubt in my mind. So that was kind of odd. And we've seen it. I've only seen it twice. So I don't know if it's happening in practice and maybe it's just in the game. When the speed of the game, it becomes aware to him. Yeah. We must find out what that reasoning is because I think potentially he could be the guy we think he can be. But I still would love to have a number one with him or someone that's, very complimentary of him that's a notch above Robert Woods, and then Robert Woods should be your 3, and then NWI is your 4. Then just think how good your receiving group is then. And let alone having somebody like Kyle Phillips as your 5 and 6, who's a punt returner with McMath. Now you got something. That's why I always wanted a veteran guy, but that was proven that wasn't coming off an injury because you just never know how that guy is going to be, especially going into year 10. Not year 3, but 10. So that's why Woods is a risk. And it wasn't like his game was built on speed. So his game was built on route running, being real precise. So his game was never that.
One thing the Titans did do that I don't think they've done all season, I'd have to go back and look, is 10 different players caught a pass last night.
I love it.
Whether it was a receiver, a tight end,
that was the first time
a running
back.
I'll have to go back and look.
Wow, okay. I don't know.
But they did share the ball well with Joshua Dobbs at quarterback. Traylon Burks, 8 targets. He caught 4 passes. Robert Woods with 9 targets. He caught 5. We'll look into it in the break and get back to you on it and still taking your phone call, 615-737.
What about Chig?
1045. Chig had 4 targets, 3 catches for 24 yards. And 2 of those were within the first 5 plays of the game. So we'll see if the Titans get him more involved in Jacksonville. We'll see what strides this defense can make after a tough performance, missing so many starters. Help is on the way on that front. We'll tell you who is and isn't coming back on the defensive side as well, coming up in hour 2 of Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone. Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone, reacting to the Titans' 27-13 loss to the Dallas Cowboys. But if you were listening to Blaine and Mickey earlier this week, you didn't even have to watch the game because this happened.
Hold on for your lives, kids.
What's your prediction, Mickey? Give us a score.
28-4 Cowboys.
4? So they're going to get 2 safeties?
2 safeties. No, I don't know. I don't know, man. 28-10 Dallas. That's what I'll go. I hope I'm wrong. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go 14.
28-14?
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't turn out that way.
That's as close as it gets. 28-14, 27-13.
I should start gambling. And then I lose all my money for sure. Yeah, but that was, unfortunately, I was really close. But you know what? I'm like you, Lucas. I do feel some positive energy even after a loss. And we're talking about 6 in a row. And it all has to do with Dobbs. And I think that he gives us a glimpse of hope and belief that we can win regardless. So it won't be handicapped by the quarterback. I think they're going to run their offense, they're going to run a defense, and then whatever happens. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So I think we have a functioning quarterback that can run this offense, and then let alone we can have the king back. The offensive line, I mean, to be honest, they looked halfway decent, considering who they were facing, especially in the pass rush game.
I'll say this,
there was problems. There was problems. There's no doubt in the passing game. But
I was going to say, Micah Parsons had virtually no impact in this game.
Well, I mean, that's where you're looking at stats. He absolutely did.
That is box score scouting by me.
Now, he wasn't as dominant as I thought he would be, to your point.
He assisted on 1 tackle in 2 hurries.
He definitely had some form of impact, and here's why I say that, and that's because when you're double teaming a guy and you're making exceptions to your blocking schemes to address one player, you're trying to take him out of the game, and then his stats won't reflect. Guess who else's stats will, though? The rest of his teammates. So then Lawrence looked like he was unstoppable. He's a great player, too, by the way. It just gets overlooked because of Parsons. So, and Parsons still had some tackle for losses. He was causing havoc. He got hits on, Dobbs. So he had some form of an impact still. But they don't play run defense very well. So that's where I thought the Titans, even though they didn't have any big, home run hits or anything like that, they were consistent where they were getting, 2 and 3 yards when they did run the football, and more than that at times. So, yeah, that's supposed to be a dominant team. They're a very inconsistent team. The Dallas Cowboys is a team, 1 week you'll say, man, they look like they're Super Bowl contenders. And then the next week, go, man, I don't know. Just like the Texans took them down to the wire. Yep. The Titans really was in the game all the way to halfway through the fourth quarter. And they don't look like a team. Inconsistent teams don't win Super Bowls. And if you get hot and go on a run for 3 or 4 games, maybe so. But typically, you're a consistent team throughout the season. You know who you are. That's not to say you're not going to lose some close games, but they're so up and down and roller coaster. I don't trust them if I was a gambling man as far as the Dallas Cowboys to say that they're going to do some serious damage in the playoffs in the NFC. So, yeah, and that's exactly how they looked. I mean, Dak Prescott, he looked great sometimes. The throw that Byard that he intercepted right there and he was playing man-to-man, he had no business throwing that ball. No. Matter of fact, he shouldn't even been looking that way.
Talking about the second interception?
Yeah, the second interception. So, I don't know. I don't trust him. I don't think I know he's $40 million. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's an elite player. He's not a difference maker where when things are going bad, he's the guy that, we can just ride on his arm and let him win the game for us. He's not, to me, he's not that kind of guy. He's in the second tier of that. He's not that dude.
A spirited defensive effort by the Shorthanded Titans. As we said, 2 interceptions by Kevin Byard on the night. Ezekiel Elliott limited 19 carries for 37 yards. And the Titans will have reinforcements defensively next week in Jacksonville. Not Bud Dupree. His season's over. Placed on injured reserve just yesterday. So when you look at who they could realistically get back for the Jacksonville game, you look at Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry. Zach Cunningham's season is also over. He was placed back on IR yesterday. Amani Hooker potentially could come back. Christian Fulton potentially could come back. Dylan Cole potentially could come back. And Mike Vrabel was asked today about the possibility of returning David Long off injured reserve. So we'll ask Buck Reising this. He's going to join us here in about 10 minutes. Titans have one activation off injured reserve left. They have used 7 of the 8 they are allotted. Now, they used one on Ola Adaney and then waived him shortly after. They used one on Zach Cunningham, and he re-aggravated the elbow, had to be placed right back on injured reserve. So there's been some missed opportunities there, but they have one remaining. I'm going to ask Buck this, but it feels like that is leaning towards going to David Long.
Who else is in the running, though, with Long, you think?
Cal Phillips.
Like, nobody's even mentioned him. I mean,
nobody's mentioned Cal Phillips.
I mean, like, that shoulder injury just lasted this long?
I mean, Phillips has dealt with a couple of things this season, but we haven't seen him. We have not seen Kyle Phillips be productive for this team since week 1 against the Giants. He's played some snaps since then.
Well, he wasn't right the last time he played.
Right.
You could tell, he wasn't right.
So, I don't know. This is nothing concrete, nothing that's been reported, but it feels like Kyle Phillips' season's over. It feels like Elijah Molden's season is over. Shane Bowen alluded to that a few weeks ago. So all signs are kind of pointing to David Long taking that last spot if he can go this week, if he can open up that activation window this week with a long week to prepare for Jacksonville. How much?
Oh, speaking on the linebackers, real quick.
Yeah.
I thought Dr. Gibby, and Amani Rice, he had some snafus there in his reads and things else, but they both played really hard. I was really impressed, especially the Dr. Gibby.
10 tackles for Dr. Gibby, 13 for Monty Rice, 2 lead tacklers for this team last night.
I thought Rice missed some, been overly aggressive and just going to the wrong gaps a couple times. But that's been a young player wanting to make the play, so the want-to was there. So he just has to learn to be patient, but that comes with experience. So I like both of what I saw in both of those guys.
It feels like both took advantage of the opportunity.
Yes. If
right?
you got those guys as backup, you're doing great and in a spot playing, at least as of right now where they're at for 2 or 3 games, I don't think you miss a beat.
615-737-1045 for you to chime
Potential
in.
starters.
Say it again.
Potential starters, I would say. Even Gibby. There's some parts of him that you start wondering about his athleticism as far as like in passing situations.
Yeah.
But, I think he's so smart. I think it'll help him out. I think he knows what to expect. He was up or changing plays and making adjustments. I love what I see because that's the human element of the academic side of football, and nobody gives it ratings, but I think it means a whole lot to a player and helping them out being successful in the league.
Gibbons wore the green dot yesterday.
Yeah, see, that says it all right there. Yep.
Nick is in Nashville joining us on 104.5 The Zone. What's up, Nick?
What's going on, guys?
You got it, man.
In the famous words of Mr. Buck Reising, it's philosophically and schematically impossible that Dobbs won't start next Sunday.
Right.
And I'm saying, so what we saw last night, Titans, that deep threat is what they need to be able to win games. Defense can stay exactly how it is. I wouldn't change nothing. But if the offense can capitalize on the stops, if their receivers can keep getting them long passes, like the Mahomes and the Josh Allen passes, we can win. And hold me to this. I'm about to be done. Titans are going to beat Jacksonville very comfortably next week. This is Nickety Great. Hold me to that. I'm gone.
Thanks for the call, Nick. Calling his shot. We're going to do that at 2:45. Nick went ahead and laid it out there at 2:11.
When do the Jags play? They
play Sunday. Now, Doug Peterson was asked, they play the Texans. They go to Houston, who they lost to, by the way, in week 5. Houston's 2 wins are against the Titans and the Jags. Doug Peterson was asked this week about resting starters because I think right on the heels of the Titans basically showing everybody who they're not going to play. And he said, no such thing as a meaningless game. We're not resting anybody. So we'll see if he holds true to that or if at some point in Houston they say, there's not really a point in playing Trevor Lawrence right now.
What is their, do you know off the top of it, what is their conference or division record, the Jaguars? Because if they lose to the Texans, what is their record? And then if they win, what is their record within the division?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I do know that regardless of what happens, the winner of that game wins the AFC South. Like, there's no tiebreaker.
The winner of the Titans game.
Right.
Well, we know that, right?
There's no tiebreaker in which it would come down to division record or common opponents or anything like that. It's just winner of that game is moving on.
Right.
It's going to come down to that because ultimately the winner of that game will have the better record. If you're the Jags, the winner of that game will have the head-to-head matchup in both cases.
If I'm him, I'm speaking just like him because I have a young team and we want momentum going into it and we want to keep this thing going. We're going balls to the wall and want to win this game as well as the next game. Yeah, no doubt. I wouldn't be resting any players.
We're going to keep this thing going into the next segment. Buck Reising joins us. It's Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone.
Buckaroo.
Apparently, an effort is being made to get Buck Reising on the phone. I know he's not doing anything. It's all right. We don't need him. Blaine Bishop, Lucas Panzica with you on 104.5 The Zone. Jackson Williams, our producer. Final show of 2022. Titans fall 27-13 to the Dallas Cowboys. You got any big New Year's plans?
Oh, yeah. Me and the fam, we got family in town, so we're going to a nice little private party. So it'll be nice and safe and cozy. It'll be cool.
That's the way to do it.
Typically, we either go over some friend's house or we stay at home because it gets a little hectic there. But, this year we're going to hit back on the town now that people are feeling a little more comfortable being out and about.
College football playoff on New Year's Eve.
Well, we got UT tonight, right?
Tennessee Clemson tonight in the Orange Bowl. That is a 7 p.m. kickoff. All network coverage will start at 5, so 3HL will be on right up until 5 o'clock live from Scoreboard, and they will send it to Bob Kessling and Pat Ryan and that whole crew.
Oh, hold on now. You told me that the Clemson is favored in this game?
Clemson's favored, and you were surprised by that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Blaine.
Hey, I know they were the king of the ACC, but ACC conference was down this year.
Yeah.
So and then we're talking about, I would say Tennessee was in that top tier of teams this year based off, the games this year. They're in the top tier. So top tier SEC, top tier ACC doesn't mean to me Clemson is favored. That's really weird. Now I know they have good defense, but the offense may be out of rhythm and timing and everything else because of Hooker to Milton and everything else in time off. But that'll come back really quick as long as they're on point. I think Tennessee's going to win this game.
It's more so the circumstances around this game because this is not the Tennessee team that we saw at its best this season. Joe Milton is the quarterback, not Hendon Hooker.
Right.
Jalen Hyatt has opted out. Cedric Tillman has opted out. Jeremy Banks on defense has opted out. And with Clemson, you're going to look at a version of that offense that you could argue should probably be in the playoff with Cade Klubnik at quarterback. Klubnik came in the ACC championship, led Clemson. They were down against North Carolina and led them in a rout.
So you think they are better than Tennessee?
I think Clemson wins tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm calling my shot then already. Then I think Tennessee's going to win this game. I think Squirrel is just as capable as Hyatt. He's just as fast. Not to say that he'll have the same production, but I think in a one-game sample size, I think he can do it. Now, Tillman, who missed most of the season, high ankle sprain, 5 games or so, I think will be tougher, but they managed through that, and we'll see if they can. That's where I think Hyatt had the impact is more with Tillman. He was replacing the production. So does Brew come up big? Or, by the way, that's why I like he didn't rotate the receivers to me for a series or two to look at some guys. I thought Keaton, every time he played really well, and especially watching him live, but even in person, that one-hand diving catch right there, I would have said, okay, we're going to start focusing on letting this guy get some more PT. Let alone you got Walker Merrill, some other guys on the bench. So I think any receiver that's on the roster right now, I think they're capable because of what they run on the offense. It's just a matter, can Joe Milton hit the moving targets? Can he hit the moving targets? And I think there's some things that they need to work on mechanically when he's just standing there flat-footed and then all of a sudden he reacts with his feet and moves his feet wide to throw. No, his feet should already be wide to throw. I think he'd be more on point. Quarterback guru there, Hitman.
Buck Reising, not a quarterback guru by any stretch.
Yeah, he is.
Where are you setting the over-under on Joe Milton overthrows today?
Oh, just for the sake of my pure enjoyment and entertainment, give me 10. I want 10 overthrows.
10 over. He is not throwing an orange, Buck. 10?
Why not? He might as well be. That thing looks like an orange in his hand, Blaine.
Oh, my. He's only going to have 2 overthrows.
2. What I want to see
because
happen,
he has to. That's the only way they're going to win. Because I said they're going to win.
That's true. What I want to see happen is with that video, and if anyone doesn't know, Tennessee football's Twitter account posted a video of Milton. How far can he throw an orange in anticipation of the Orange Bowl? And it went like 110 yards, and it exploded at the end of it because of the velocity and the altitude. What I want, Buck, is for Milton to overthrow a football so bad that the ball explodes when it hits the turf.
I mean, honestly, like he exploded the inside of Jalen Hyatt's internal organs with a pass in 2021. So why couldn't he do it to a football? I bet he could. I bet he could puncture that thing. Why not?
However many overthrows Joe Milton has tonight will probably still amount to more points than our score total in the Music City Bowl tomorrow, right down the road at Nissan Stadium. So Buck Reising with us, presented by Two Rivers Ford. Buck, one activation left for the Titans off of injured reserve. Could it be anyone other than David Long?
I mean, could it? Yes. Will it be? I would, unless something goes wrong in the next 10 days for David Long. It sounds like they expect him to be able to at least return to practice. Now, they can designate him to return and then him not be ready for Jacksonville. Like, that's a real possibility. I don't know the significance of his injury, but I just want people to keep that in mind. A designation does not mean an automatic activation under the current rules. So I think that they would be, like, I was talking about this on pregame yesterday, and I would have loved to have done it with Blaine to see what kind of face Blaine made at me. But I said just for fun, what if it's Cody Hollister? What if they did that to people? What if they activated Cody Hollister off injured reserve and headed into Jacksonville guns blazing, baby?
Happy New Year.
Well, actually, my face would have been, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's right.
He's been playing. I mean, he just got injured. I mean, watch this. He's the best blocking receiver we have. See?
Oh,
so that doesn't surprise me. They always talking about the receivers blocking. Notice we ain't been talking about no receivers blocking, have we? We ain't been nobody. At the end of the day, they got to be able to catch the ball. That's what he's talking about, catching the ball, because that's what they're out there for. They're supposed to be assets to the blocking for the running game, not their major duty. And that's what the first thing to come to their mind is, I'm a blocker. Well, you're supposed to get in the way and make sure you get in the way, but catching the freaking ball is your job.
Yeah, and it looked like, it took them about a half last night to remember how to do that. It's been so long that they've had volume passing targets. Oh, my God, we're going to throw the ball 40 times? Are you kidding me? I got to remember how to catch instead of block. I mean, here's the thing, though. Like, Monty Rice and the good Dr. Jack Gibbons, they played pretty good football last night.
Yeah, they did.
So if they said, well, can I live without David Long? I can't imagine this being a conversation, but just for bleeps and gigs, if they said, well, they're playing pretty good right now. What if we did bring back Cody Hollister or whomever else to try and continue to help block for Derrick Henry, since Derrick Henry's going to play in the Jags game? I think people would. I think we would have to put, like, Titans fans on self-harm watch if that became the case. But no, I think David Long is who you should expect.
I guess the first question then is, who starts at quarterback next week? I know that's a big question because the way Vrabel answered the question, I don't know if he's posturing, just because of the opponent, but I don't know why would you need to do that. Or maybe he's trying to protect Willis. I have no idea, but Dobbs has to be the starting quarterback, right?
Oh, my God, please. Just for the sake of all of us at this point. I know, I've said this a million different times, but I feel like I got to say it every time. Like, I don't hate Malik. I don't dislike Malik. I wish Malik Willis no ill will. I just don't want to see him play again this season because I know he can't play right now, and that's fine. He wasn't supposed to play this year. We all know this, and circumstances have brought this to the place where he's appeared in 8 NFL games far before he's ready, and they gave another guy a look last night, and he looked like he had been an NFL quarterback, at least in an NFL meeting room and on a practice field for 6 years, the way that Josh Dobbs has. And he was able to execute and be decisive and get rid of the football. He wasn't perfect. He had turnovers. I think for a first NFL start, though, that's about as good as I would expect something like that to go. And, in fact, I think it exceeded everybody's expectations by a considerable deal. But that's how low the bar's been set, right? Like, it's only 13 points. Like, they didn't light it up. They didn't score 20. They didn't score 24. For only the 4th time this year. They scored 13 points and they lost by double digits. So, whether it's enough or not, who's to say? One would imagine that the roster would be better. But, like, Blaine, we talked about this on my show today. They told Josh Dobbs he was starting on Christmas Eve, like as he was driving home from the Texans game. So they know who the starting quarterback is. As much as Mike wants to, play sleight of hand, I guess, for what? I don't know.
Yeah, well, Dobbs probably gave a little too much truth serum there to us there in the media, telling us when they told him, and he's like, okay, let me hurry up and get back there. But this is a question that Lucas brought up, and it's kind of interesting. they lost the game, but it feel as though because of the positive energy, as though they won because they found out who their quarterback's going to be for the next game.
Just something, just some sign of life, just third down conversions, right? Throwing the ball on first down to get another first down. What? In this economy, with this offense, with this offensive line, are you kidding me? That's a thing, and they did it on the first play, the first offensive series. They threw to Chig on first down, and they converted it. And I looked around like somebody had I just hit me in the chest. It was so refreshing to see. Now, they ultimately killed themselves on that drive because they had penalties, and they have offensive line issues, as we all know. But just for a moment, just little things like that, because that's better than what it's looked like. And I mean, honest to God, it's better than what it's looked like with Tannehill and the mobility limitations. Those sprint outs that they were running for Dobbs, to get him outside the pocket, to give him the ability to maybe see a rushing lane, to change the platform for him and kind of maybe help him see further down the field. That's something that you can do with a quarterback who can move. Now, they weren't doing it with Malik because apparently they think Malik can't do that as well as Josh Dobbs can at this point, or they don't think he's going to make a quick enough decision to do that and further jeopardize things, which is very, very real. But yeah, the rare moral victory in the NFL that actually is a moral victory, because they saw signs of life of an actual NFL passing game for the first time since the last Thursday Night Football game that they played. And that, I mean, the energy in the locker room was different. Vrabel wasn't overwhelmingly positive, but it's about as close to positivity as we've gotten from Mike after 5 straight losses and now a 6th that just didn't feel the same as the last 5. So I think you can have accomplished something last night. Obviously, they accomplished something last night. They have an answer at quarterback for the time being, even if it's not a long-term answer. They have, more time to get players healthy and didn't win or lose a game they did lose, but a game that cost them nothing, really, other than Andrew Adams, which is unfortunate because that guy earned the job that he got and did well to play in a big spot this year. But I think that they can have established some kind of momentum and something to build upon and some kind of good energy heading into a game where, I mean, I think we all felt like they were going to come into the last night, get drubbed, and then try and go to Jacksonville and be like, all right, boys, go get them. And, who's to say after 6 straight losses that they can still do that now? But at least you feel better about it.
Well, I have to ask you this, and I know it's a tough job by the referees, but the officiating just was a little inconsistent for me. Kind of take us through some of the plays that you thought were kind of impactful, whether it was pass interference or even the Monty Rice hit on the quarterback. I thought Dak Prescott did a great job of kind of selling it a little bit. I don't think there was any intent to drive him into the ground, but naturally he did go down with him. But I felt like Dak put his arm on there so he would go down. Just kind of take us through some of the calls that you thought were kind of ticky-tack.
Well, I think the one that you just mentioned, and Dak did well to sell it. So from an optical standpoint, when things are moving fast, I'm not that rough about that. What I would be mad at is if I was a Titans fan and I saw the same basic situation with Josh Dobbs, where Dobbs doesn't try and sell it and just landed on anyway, throws his hands up while he's laying flat on his back, like, hey, you gonna throw the flag, bud? And they're just staring back at him like, nope, get up, 2nd down. That's the kind of inconsistency that I think you're speaking to. They were right to call that awful defensive pass interference on 3rd and 19 on Trey Avery. That is one of the stupidest penalties that I've seen all season long. Really, really unfortunate mistake. And I think I saw some screenshots of Mike Vrabel's face on the Amazon broadcast where he also probably shared that emotion at the time. But the missed pass interference on Treylon Burks that could have put them in a position to capitalize in the red zone that was not called. It was so slighted on the side of the Titans, who, by the way, did make mistakes, did have false starts on 4th and 5, Dennis Daly, did have situations where there were operational penalties, again, did line up in the neutral zone. Like, they did all of these things that they've consistently been doing all year long that is so maddening to watch. But also in a game where you could not afford to be heavily penalized and were going to be heavily penalized based on the way that you've been playing all year long, you were working with an officiating crew that, tends to be pretty heavy-handed as far as flags anyway. And, it just happened to go in not in their favor.
How surprised were you that there were no – Todd Downing is horrible. They should fire him. What happened? Where did that go? Because he still had some ding-dongish calls, by the way. Nothing changed. You know what changed? The quarterback executing the offense. That's what changed.
That's right.
The same players are out there, and actually less players as far as, the offensive line. Only Brewer was a starter last week. Yeah. I mean, what were your thoughts on Todd Downing? Call him.
He's the same coach that he's been. And just nobody decided that because I guess they saw, oh my God, that we threw the ball 40 times. You get it 39 times. Are you kidding me? And it's only one more attempt than their season high, as Lucas looked up, I believe, earlier. But
it's a season high in pass attempts for the Titans.
Yeah, because the previous was 38, right?
Yep.
Is what you had found?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that just by nature of an NFL passing game, it doesn't matter that they weren't effective running the football, which is this team's alleged identity. As of late, they were excited because they saw movement through the air. They saw a quarterback play well enough to function. They saw a quarterback willing to get the weapons involved, Robert Woods, Traylon Burks, giving them a chance in ways that Malik Willis was not in his opportunity to play with a more complete collection of the Titans skill position players. There were some poorly thrown passes. There were some poorly made decisions. He threw more interceptable balls, obviously, than he ended up having intercepted. That's not so do some of the best quarterbacks in football this year. Tua's interceptable passes list is all over the place. And he was talked about for a good period of this season as an NFL MVP. Like, it's just it's the same offense, really. It's not like the playbook changed. They can't do that on 8 days on 8 days notice. They ran the offense that they thought would give them the best opportunity to succeed, and also because of the nature of where they were in situational football and score separation and things like that, they ended up throwing the ball more than they otherwise would. But I hope that if Todd Downing ends up being the offensive coordinator of this team next year and Ryan Tannehill ends up being the quarterback of this team next year, that they now understand that they can lean a little heavier on their passing game in ways that they seem so unwilling to do with Tannehill and Henry on the field together, that I think should rightfully piss people off.
Yeah, to a certain extent, I definitely feel that. One more question for me, and that is, what do you think the organization thinks of Malik Willis at this point in time?
Same thing as when they drafted him. Like, okay, this guy's going to take a lot of work. Like, he played in the ninth grade offense, and now he's got to play NFL quarterback. This might take a while. I do think that more questions in the offseason should be asked about, can he even be your backup quarterback? Because right now the answer is clearly no. It is at a necessity, but like, Hogan's still in the practice squad, and we know what Malik is, and what Malik is right now is good enough to not need to start any more games. So I think that they're still basically where they were with him, and they understand that it was going to be a slow burn and that he was never supposed to play this much, and they tried. So now they got to try something else.
Well, with yours truly, Buck Reising from the Buck Reising Show right here on 104.5 The Zone.
Buck, the Titans spread the ball around last night. 10 different receivers. I say receivers just for the fact that 10 different players caught a pass, whether that was running backs, tight ends, or wide receivers. They spread it around as well as they have since week one. When you look at week one, only twice in two other instances have the Titans gotten the ball to 10 different pass catchers. One of those was week one when Kyle Phillips led the team in targets and catches. So do you think that's more of a product of the way Josh Dobbs was scanning the field and using his mobility, or the positions they were putting him in schematically?
Well, I think the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, right? He was obviously going through reads better. He was obviously being decisive and getting rid of the football in short order. I haven't seen his average time to throw from last night yet on Next Gen Stats, but that's something that I'm going to be curious about.
2 sacks allowed by the Titans last night, for what it's worth.
And by the way, like, it could have been more. Like, the one sack was the fumble that he got absolutely crunched on because both Daly and Clark blew their blocks.
Yep.
There's just you understand what you're getting into behind that Titans offensive line. Listen, I think it's as much as he's not locked on any one player, because he doesn't know any of these guys, right? He didn't practice with any of these guys. It's just like, all right, everybody's going to eat today because I don't know who I can trust. I don't know who I can't trust yet, which honestly gives more guys opportunity to go out there and try and make a play. Because how is he supposed to know that Robert Woods is going to have that horrible drop in the first quarter and then just decide to go back to him. It hasn't been a consistent thing yet for those two, so he's comfortable going back to Woods, and Woods made plays in that game in ways that he has not been able to consistently do. So, it's a good question, but I really do think that there's just kind of this almost detachment from any of the other players that he's playing with because this dude just got here 9 days ago.
We will see what it looks like next week with a week of tape and Derrick Henry in the backfield next to Joshua Dobbs in Jacksonville. Buck, Happy New Year. We'll see you on Tuesday.
You sure will. Have a great New Year, boys, and go Vols.
Look at that. Go Vol. Came in with his Tennessee pullover, and he's saying go Vols on the way out. Buck Reising. Fully bought in. I think Dobbs Mania took
I got my orange on today right here, man.
Blaine does too. I'm the only one to wear an orange here, ironically. Jackson Williams.
You're the only one that went to the school.
Well, Jackson did too.
I did too.
Yeah, the birthday boy, by the way. 23 years old today. Yeah.
23?
Happy birthday, Jackson.
Man, that's a lucky number there, man. 23, man. You're going to have fun tonight, man.
That's the Hitman's number right there. When we come back, we'll get a little bit into the orangest Orange Bowl of all time between Tennessee and Clemson, and we will call our shot. Thanks to Buck Reising for joining us, courtesy of Two Rivers Ford. It's Blaine and Mickey on 104.5 The Zone.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate it.
Oh, must be nice to be on South Beach right now.
Yeah.
Although we don't have it too bad. 67 degrees.
Oh, I
in
couldn't
Nashville
believe
right
it.
now.
I was up there walking my dog. I was like, what the? It was 50 or something like that at that time. I was like, oh, it's
Less
gonna be
than a
great
week
day.
ago, Blaine,
It
it
was
was 20
freezing.
degrees
It was
at
freezing.
kickoff.
Yeah.
It's 67 degrees in Nashville.
Yeah, I was interested. I was getting hot in here, starting to sweat because we still have the heat on here at the studio. They finally turned it off.
It's nicer where Will Bowling is. I know that. No matter how nice it is in Nashville, it is nicer where Will
Shorts,
Bowling
man. What are you
is.
talking about? I'm going home and put on shorts, man. Will, you got on shorts, Will? Will, you got on shorts
I do,
yet?
Blaine.
Oh, okay.
I do. It is a nice, partly cloudy. I think it's 80 here. The sun beats down on you so much here in South Florida that it feels like 90, especially when it was 0 literally this time last week in Nashville. But nothing to complain about here in South Florida, that's for sure.
Oh, man. Well, I have my orange shirt on today, and you and Lucas, I think, are about to bust my bubble because you guys think Clemson going to win this game?
Unfortunately, I do, but honestly, Blaine, I think this game is among the most unpredictable bowl games that are left in the bowl schedule. When you talk about two teams playing quarterbacks that didn't start the season at the beginning of the year, all the changes that Tennessee is going to make to this offense going into this one, and ultimately, I just think that this Clemson team is so much better with Cade Klubnik at quarterback that this is going to be a coming out party for somebody at quarterback. I think it's more likely to be him, just considering the accuracy that he's had, the run that he put Clemson on in the ACC championship game. I think we're going to learn a lot about these young Tennessee playmakers, though, and I think we're certainly going to learn a lot about Joe Milton, that's for sure.
So is that your shot that you're calling, that Clemson's going to beat Tennessee against your alma mater? That is not your shot.
I am most confident in my shot being I'm taking the over in this game. Okay. That is the shot that I'm taking. I think I'm leaning towards about 41-31 Clemson, but you know what? The score, I think, is going to be so unpredictable. I think the most predictable thing about this game, guys, is the fact that the over is going to hit. So that is the shot that I'm calling here from South Beach, and really appreciate Brentwood Hearing Center, Superbook Sports sending me down here, and appreciate the opportunity with you guys to call a shot all the way from South Florida as well.
I appreciate it, man. Hopefully you continue to bring the bright sun here in the nice warm weather. But my shot is I'm picking UT to win. And I'm not a gambler like you, Will.
So the over-under for Tennessee Clemson is 61. And by the way, we appreciate Chattanooga Whiskey for sponsoring Call Your Shot. 615-737-1045 if you have one that you want to get in. Last one for the 2022 calendar year. So 61, the over-under for Tennessee Clemson. Will Bowling 61. Calling his shot that the over will hit. Will, we talked about this on the Ultimate Tennessee podcast, available wherever you get your podcast this week, how this is a tone-setting game for Joe Milton. This game will determine how we talk about the Tennessee quarterback situation going into 2023. So in your mind, what does Milton have to do? Is there something specific that you feel like he needs to do tonight to avoid the entirety of the offseason being about, oh, my God, when is Nico going to be ready?
No. I think the first thing he's got to do is he's got to win the game, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing that Joe Milton has to prove, is that he can beat a really good team. And Clemson is a really good team, especially with Klubnik, the quarterback, in my opinion. So I think that's the biggest thing, Lucas, is he's got to go out and win the football game. And aside from that, I think if you are 50% on balls longer than 20 or 30 yards down the field, I think that's a really successful day for Joe Milton.
50%?
And Hooker. 50. I mean, 50%, right? 4 for 8. Be 4 for 8. I'm 20-plus yards down the field, right? I think that would be a resounding success for Joe Milton at Tennessee.
The X plays going to mean a lot for Joe Milton tonight.
Oh, man, the bar seems kind of low there for him, man. I guess he set the bar, though. He hasn't been too good.
I mean, what was it against Vanderbilt? Like, he was probably
my goodness.
It was
12.
horrible.
Yeah,
and you know, an improvement from that.
In that game, Tennessee's running the ball so well. They run for well over 300 yards in that game. It was almost frustrating. I remember saying this the week of. Every time Tennessee broke an 80-yard run when they were already up, I was yelling at the TV like, no, go down. I want to see him throw the football. Yeah. So I think we're going to see plenty of that. Tennessee ain't racking up 300 yards of rushing offense against this Clemson front, though they are down a couple of guys due to opt-outs. But Will Bowling, enjoy sunny South Beach. Enjoy the game tonight. Happy New Year, man, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, one more question, though, real quick. I know you're talking about a lot of the young guys are getting reps at practice and everything else. I really believe, you guys tell me you guys are in the industry a lot more than me in the college level, and that is, will some of these practice early enrollees get to actually play in bowl games at some point?
You know, I mean, they're already getting the gifts.
Yeah.
They're already making the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They're getting the beats.
It feels like that might be a possibility long-term.
Long term, right.
Especially when you talk about a 12-team playoff giving you, the 13 versus 14 teams playing each other, right? Yeah. I mean, you're going to have less games that are of value outside the top 12. So you feel like you're going to have more freedom to do like that if you're outside the top 12, right? The only question I would have is, are any games being played late enough in the calendar where that would even be possible at that point? Because if the 12-team playoff is starting, December 15th, then when is, the Citrus Bowl being played, right? Or games like that are right on the cusp. So are those moved up? Do those stay around December 30th? I think if they do, then yeah, sure. Let guys like Nico Iamaleava have a chance to play. But I think it's an interesting question, and, I don't think any of us know a lot of answers about the future of college football nowadays and how quickly things have been changing.
Well, you just predicted the future. It will happen. Will Bowling said.
I love it.
7 o'clock kick. You can hear the Vol Network call right here on 104.5 The Zone. Will Bowling will be there for the Tennessee Clemson Orange Bowl. Will, thanks, man. Happy New Year.
Yeah, get your tanning oil out.
Yeah, you too, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Will Bowling with us on 104.5 The Zone. My shot tomorrow, 11 a.m. kickoff, right down the road at Nissan Stadium, Kentucky and Iowa.
Oh, my.
The TransPerfect Music City Bowl. Local tie there, Destin Wade, the former Summit quarterback, expected to get the start for Kentucky as a true freshman.
Really?
Yeah, remember the Wade twins?
Oh, yeah,
the absolute
know who
tear they went
on
last
dad,
year.
I know his family.
Yeah, so Barryon Brown, another one, Pearl Cone, freshman, has had
been
a
lighting it up.
big year at Kentucky as a freshman at wide receiver. So local ties there, but Iowa's on their third-string quarterback. Will Levis isn't playing, obviously, for Kentucky. Chris Rodriguez Jr., their best running back, is not playing for Kentucky. It's going to be rain.
Who is the quarterback that's transferred to Iowa?
Oh, it's from Michigan, Cade McNamara.
Okay.
But he is not playing in this game.
No.
Their points are going to be at a premium in this one. Give me the under at 31.5 between Kentucky and Iowa in the TransPerfect Music City Bowl. I can't wait. This is the Sicko Bowl at its finest. Speaking of Sicko Bowl, we just saw Maryland beat NC State in the Mayo Bowl. The Mayo Bath goes to Mike Loxley with a hint of Old Bay. And the Gator Bowl is kicked off. South Carolina already up 7-0 on Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back Monday live from Scoreboard.
Yep, we will.
I'll be with Rhett Bryan from 10 to 1. Blaine and Mickey with you, as always, from 1 to 3. Come out and see us. Scoreboard Bar and Grill. We'll watch all the New Year's Six Bowls going on that day. The college football playoff will be set. And Blaine, Happy New Year, man.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Be safe out there. But in the meantime and in between time, peace.